psychology's cool and everything. I would love to do that. But psychiatry, my dream was to work in a psych ward with, really pretty serious cases, just because I really thought that was so interesting.
All right, welcome to the Aussie Ambitions podcast. We have got a guest with us today who's on quite a journey, and we're going to get into it. Her name's Silvija, and she is a student at Griffith University, an aspiring psychiatrist. Is that right?
Yes.
Excellent. Welcome, Silvija. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. Good. So appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to come in and see us. Obviously, we've been looking at different topics for the podcast, and one of it has just been essentially student life and all the different things that brings. So maybe just could you tell us a little bit about what you're working on?
I'm just, undergrad, so second year at uni, and I'm doing a Bachelor of Health Sciences degree. So I have 1 year left, and then I get to sit my GAMSAT exam and go to med school for another 4 years. So.
Okay, so that's pretty far along then. It's like essentially, like you said, it's a 4-year program, right?
Med school.
Yeah. And so what kind of things are happening in the classroom? Is it a lot of textbook stuff? Is it online? How does it work?
Yeah, so we started with, lectures and going to the uni, and, it was very practical. And yeah, when it moved online, it was very textbook based, reading a lot and reviewing a lot. And
is that because of COVID situation and all that?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So where are we now? Are we back to normal like it would have been, or?
Yeah, it's half now. So lectures are still online, but you go in for workshops or tutorials and stuff like that. It's really small classrooms. I used to sit in lectures with 900 kids, and now it's 10. So
okay.
In tutorials.
Okay. And so obviously just the aspirations side of things, would you consider yourself an ambitious person?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd hope so.
And has it been like that your whole life, or?
Yeah, my mum definitely ingrained that into me from a really young age. Yeah.
And I guess maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that. So where did you come from originally?
I came from a small country town called Wangaratta. My parents immigrated to Australia at different times, but they're both from Serbia. And yeah, I grew up there. When I was 16, I moved here. And so, yeah, I spent my senior year of high school here, all the years of high school here. And then, yeah, I started uni.
Okay. So you're basically, your whole family relocated?
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you think of, how was that? Because moving in the middle of a school, you would have been high school, right?
Yeah, it was tough, honestly. I didn't think it was going to be as hard as it was, but definitely in year 10 as well. A lot of, people already had their friend groups, and it was really nerve-wracking. It was a bit of an adjustment, but it was for the better. I love it up here.
I guess the weather and the beaches and everything
nice.
Offset any kind of social settlement you had to get into.
It was amazing. Best decision we've ever made.
Sweet. And so just on that front, the finishing up of high school, was that 2 years, right? You need to do up here?
I had 3. It was 10, 11, and 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then you did that, and then was the automatic decision to go from here because you're here, you settled with your family here, and then because there is a university here, you just considered that, or did you actually look at other schools for whatever reason?
Well, okay, Griffith is really good for just medical-based degrees. So straight away I was like, yep, that's where I want to be. I want to do that. I looked at University of Queensland and everything, but a lot of people recommended Griffith, and it's 10 minutes away from where I live, so I was down to do that.
Okay,
yeah.
So again, it's a nice little combination where you got the life is good here, but now this is where it gets interesting because there's a lot of fun things to do here, say, but you've got to work hard, I'm guessing, now.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Is that true? What kind of hours do you need to put in to your work, and then the balance, the chill time, and then the sleep? How does it all fit in?
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's crazy. So I didn't think it would be. I thought I'd be much better with my time management, to be honest. I study a lot. So every single day, minimum 2 hours. I definitely skip some days. But then, yeah, I have to catch up before exams. It's an 8-hour day. Yeah, it's a lot of studying.
So what keeps you going? I mean, this is going to be cool for the listeners, right? So you got people from overseas, different countries. They're learning about Australia, what life's here. But like how, I think it's pretty universal. How do people stay motivated to just grind it out?
My mom.
Is she on you, like discipline?
Oh, yeah. But also I love it. It's very interesting what I'm learning. And I don't know, I'm always looking at, where's this going to take me? What's my future going to look like if I put the work in now? And that really motivates me because I'm like, I really want to do well. I want to have a good job and be happy just with my life.
All right. Straight to happiness.
Yeah.
It's to be honest, those are some of the things that even people that are seasoned and like experienced in their life, like they do all this, but they forget the happiness piece.
Happiness, exactly. Yep.
So, do you get a bit of the balance? Like, how do you have downtime?
Well, I'll start really early studying. And then I just try to get it. I try to do it sort of as fast as not as fast, but just normally it's the night times that I get off. Okay. Sort of. So I'll just, as soon as I finish, close my laptop and just straight into whatever I want to do. Okay.
So that's cool. So what kind of stuff? Like, is it just like, do you do the digital plugged in, scroll through the phone, or are you outdoorsy? What kind of stuff?
I like to be outdoors. If I've been sitting inside, especially with COVID and when it was online, computer all day long. So I had classes starting at 8, going till 5 on my computer. So I just want to get outside and go for a walk. I'll go for really long walks, put my phone away, just try to, zen.
Sounds good. Yeah, look, I think that's probably a good thing rather than trying to, do something that's going to make you tired the next day.
Yeah.
I mean, are there times where you could, because you're like, 19 or so, right? So you could still go out in the nightlife here?
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, it's great nightlife here.
Is it?
Yeah, it's amazing on the Gold Coast. Awesome. It's like the best nightlife.
I think people do know it for that. I mean, obviously there's like lots of things to do, tourist life and all that, but what is it more of like a weekend thing, or would you try to fit in? Would you do something random on like a weekday?
Oh, yeah. So it depends on how I'm going for time. So normally it is a weekend thing, Saturday night, but if I finish all my studies and it's like a Monday night, me and my friends will be like, why not? Let's just do it. We've done that before. Even Tuesday night. We've done Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Nice. Okay. Well, I guess it's back to like you've got whatever the program is, you just kind of work everything else in. And are there times when you feel like there's a sacrifice where you're like, okay, should I?
Oh, I've cancelled so many plans, birthdays, just to study. And yeah, it's a bit of a bummer, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm doing it for a good reason. And there's been times when I'm like, I'm not going to study. I'm just going to go. Like the night before one of my exams, I went to my friend's birthday party. It was like an apartment party. And we went clubbing. Woke up the next morning at 7 a.m. to sit the exam.
So you're in charge, right? You can decide.
Definitely.
And then do you get a bit of heat from like the social circle, like friends, and like come on, like?
Yeah, they're like, come on, just come out. You study all the time, but they know, they understand. They're like, yeah, you're very clever. We'll leave you to it. You make the decisions. So.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so there's sort of like a respect thing, or like they're kind of getting where you're going with this.
Yeah, they're joking around. They'll be like, oh, come on, but yeah. They know what I'm doing.
Okay, so like temptation a little bit, but you're like, you'll draw the line.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. That's neat. Again, you can imagine how relatable that is for most people. Have you linked up with other students? Like, what's your kind of circle with people doing the same thing as you?
Yeah, so I met a lot of kids in my first year and I made a lot of friends. But obviously, as soon as COVID came, it was really hard to maintain those friendships. But I definitely have. I met like one of my best friends in my degree, and we're still doing the same thing. So we really helped each other and we studied together. It was really good to have her there. It's so important to have friends, I think, in university, or just like a social group where you can relate about, your degree and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's totally cool to hear. I mean, like you said, the class sizes sort of changed a little bit with this whole thing, but back to now, like in a typical classroom, what would be the class size?
Yeah, like 10. 5.
Okay. And is it because you're further on in the degree, like the class sizes are bigger when in the early?
I think so. I do think so. That definitely contributes to it. But the main thing is COVID. So many people just, because they stream them live online while it's happening. So a lot of people just stay at home.
So there's truly an option then now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they've really made it flexible for people, because a lot of people liked online better than
I can imagine.
Yeah, in person.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, and that's way to embrace that, because companies do the same thing. Like no company ever wanted employees to work from home. I mean, like my goodness, we have to trust that they're going to be productive and we can't monitor over their shoulder. And now it's like, yeah, I don't know. I think the power has shifted to the people that are actually doing it.
Yeah.
So studying and whatever. That's pretty cool. So when we look at, I guess the program it's fair to say that this is like a pre-med. So is it like a pre-medical degree?
Yes.
And then you go into
that's what Americans call it. Whenever I see TikToks, they're like pre-med, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can really relate a little bit. I did physiology, it's like 4 years physiology, so it's basically a pre-med degree.
Yeah.
But you were telling me a little bit before about why you chose, because I think you can get access to medical school a couple of different ways, but why this particular one? Is it like, because you got to chemistry?
There's a lot of thought going into this.
Right.
So it's chem, bio. The one that I'm doing is actually really chemistry intensive because I'm doing a major as well, just in case I wanted to fall back on it. And I wanted to do this major because it's really interesting. I'm doing toxicology. So that's so much. It's chemistry, just all chemistry. Lots of biology too, but mostly chemistry. And yeah, the GAMSAT exam that you have to sit to get into med school, it's just chemistry, biology, and physics based. So, and I think you have to do some writing as well, but the main component is the science.
Yeah.
So I did a science degree.
Yeah, I mean that's cool to hear because a lot of people do study and they have a hard time connecting what they've learned with practical usage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Math is a classic example. When you're younger, it's like, what do I need to know like calculus for seriously? But have you ever used calculus in your real life?
No, never. No.
I don't want to make any assumptions. Maybe there's a lot of people that are.
No, even when I went into my health course, I didn't think I'd need math, and then we had a biomedical statistics course. And I was like, are you kidding? But no, it's good. It's important.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's just about, if you're going to put the time in, do the thinking about like, all right, can you actually use this? In your case, you basically need it. You got to pass the is it GMAS? Is that what it's called?
GAMSAT.
Yeah. GAMSAT. This is, I'm going to probably date myself, but like GMAT or MCAT, I think is the North American one.
Yes. Yeah.
And so anyway, but that's a serious exam. No joke.
No. Yeah. It's a 9-hour day. So, yeah, 5-hour exam, 9-hour day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be mentally prepared.
So, and do you find that this is maybe an interesting one. Do you find that you retain knowledge? So something you've learned like 3 years ago stays with you?
Yeah, if it's interesting, yeah, which is why I like what I'm doing because it is really interesting. And I find my brother's doing the same thing. So he's in his first year, I'm in my second year, and he's doing all the exact same classes. And, I'll listen to his lectures and I'm like, oh, I remember that. I've been sat with him in one of his exams and I was like, yep, I know the answer. So, yeah.
Hold on, you sat in one of his exams?
Well, yeah, I didn't help him, but I was just like looking at the answers, seeing if I could.
Oh, okay. Wait. Yeah. This isn't where it's like supervised by, like, how is that allowed?
Oh yeah, so online exams.
Okay.
They just do it online. No, they don't know. Some of them are proctored, but I don't think first years have proctored exams.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And so just with all of that, obviously there's the hard work and you get to that point. Do you feel like there's anybody taking shortcuts? I don't know. I'm always curious in like life hacks in a good way and also in like that, ooh, that's kind of like dodgy. Obviously, fair is fair and that kind of thing. But have you ever caught on to something where, I don't know, maybe it's like people have, I'll put it out there. What I can relate to is like back in the day, people would have copies of old exams, for example.
Oh,
and it was sort of like an inner circle of like, well, if you knew somebody, they had the previous exams and stuff like that.
I wish.
And it's just, it's that kind of thing. But maybe that's just in technology now. It's all probably digital and there's ways to crack down on that kind of stuff. But
yeah, with our uni as well, they have like a really strict policy and they made the exams really hard to cheat on and everything like that, especially my chemistry one. But yeah, for me as well, I was the first person in my family to go to uni. So it was just, I had to study, learn it, remember it. Yeah, I didn't have a lot of help.
That's pretty cool. So is there some, I bet of, like, I would say that honor that goes along with that? Like you'll always have. And then a bit of role model then, I guess, for
my younger brother, definitely. Yeah, he always says he looks up to me. So I'm like, oh, very nice.
Oh, well, look, I mean, I think these are parts of life, right? So you can, whether it's just role model for in the family or outside. Mm-hmm. Cool. I don't know if you mentioned the culture, like the family unit. So they immigrated from another country,
mm-hmm.
And what kind of culture?
Serbian culture, it's very, whenever people ask me what it's like, I'm like, I don't really know. It's a mix of kind of Greek and Italian and like Russian. So, and even like Middle Eastern. It's a bit of everything. It's just really, tight-knit communities, really close families. It's really good. I really love it. It's we're all very warm and welcoming, very loud.
So the move from Victoria, the state, to here, was there already existing like cultural connections? Like there might have been a Serbian community here that was kind of like, maybe it might just be one neighborhood or something.
So my dad, when he first immigrated here, he was in Brisbane, and then they moved down to Victoria, Wangaratta, and then my mum had 2 kids over in Serbia, my sisters, and then her and my dad met over a phone call. She moved down, and then she moved with my sisters, and then they had me and my brother in Victoria. And then my sister decided to come up here for university, and my other sister would visit her, obviously, and we all kind of just decided we loved it so much and moved up here. But no, just to be with them, just to be with my older sisters.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, look, that's an interesting story in itself, right? Like a little bit of sacrifice and uncertainty, right? Like just getting up and moving. We're talking about like, basically having to change jobs probably and all that stuff.
I know. Yeah, it was crazy.
Well, good on them. So there you go. So obviously this is the topic that's kind of neat, is the psychiatry part of it. I can share the passion, I guess, the interest around why people do the things they do, both in good and bad. So like I come from the positive side of like motivation. So I guess early on, it's like what motivates people truly, like from the psychology point. I mean, you could say it in the generic sense, but like I got into the textbooks around like what, are people's needs being met, and like, are they driven by money or is it social? Like some pretty stuff like that. Psychiatry to me sounds like, it always feels like there's a bundle of problems. Like I feel like it's more that, like the clinical psychology and
exactly,
trying to figure out what's going on.
I wanted to work with definitely more serious cases. So yeah, that's what made me sort of divert from psychology. I was like, psychology's cool and everything. I would love to do that. But psychiatry, my dream was to work in a psych ward with, really pretty serious cases, just because I really thought that was so interesting.
Very cool. Now, this is going to be like, I'm going to ask, where did you get that from? I mean, is it, you just saw a movie or like a scenario or maybe a human, like a real role model that was someone that was like, just where did that come from, do you think?
I spoke to a psychiatrist, and I was like, I really like what you do. And then I thought, I really want to help people. And especially I want it to be almost challenging, where it's like I'm challenged at work every single day and it's really confronting. But I feel like that has a big impact on people when it's super confronting. And I wanted to see where that would take me, talking to people like that and finding out why and how to help.
That's cool. I mean, I can imagine, again, a lot of the listeners and viewers would be people that are looking at career paths and how to choose, but not everyone has access to just jump in and start talking to professionals, right? Like, how did you get, now when you say you met with a psychiatrist, was it like a patient-client thing, or was it just like through a network and you're like, well, I'll just talk to that person and see?
No, it was a patient and client thing.
Sorry, was it really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. We don't need to pry. Like, obviously, this is when we get into
that's okay.
confidential stuff. But like, so fair enough. So you had a chance to basically ask open questions about their profession.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've had really bad anxiety for my whole entire life, and so when I went to speak to one, it really helped. So I was like, oh my gosh, I really want to help other people with the same sort of.
Oh wow.
What I have, yeah.
No, 100%. So again, that's quite relatable in a sense. If someone's experienced something, then they kind of know it firsthand, and then it's like, and maybe there is some, it sparks something, where you like you can picture yourself, especially since and is it fair to say you overcome whatever that was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, oh my goodness, anxiety is something that gets everyone, right?
Yeah.
It can be like public speaking. It could be lots of things.
It could be anything.
Social situations.
Yeah. And for me, when it started to become just everything, and I knew I couldn't continue the career path that I wanted to pursue with that, because it's such a heavy, intense kind of career path. So I was like, you need to help yourself and fix it. And I did. And then when I, figured out that people can help other people like that, I really wanted to be a part of that change. And I wanted, because I was sort of like, oh, I know what helps me. feel better. So, and I feel like that's helpful when you're like a professional.
Yeah, no doubt. So that's definitely the goal. How many years away is that?
Oh, like 9. It's a long time. Yeah.
So 9 from today, right?
Yeah.
More or less?
Probably like 8 and 11 months.
Yeah, shave a few months off there.
Yeah.
Okay. And what happens then? I mean, that's probably a bit far off, but like, is it the type of thing that it's like a private clinic situation where you become Silvija Psychiatrist and you just have your practice somewhere, and then, or is it part of a bigger thing where you like be part of a hospital, say?
I wanted to work in primarily a hospital. Yeah, just like a psych ward, where you're getting patients just constantly coming in and out. Just because it's like I've always wanted to work in those intense kind of. It's weird. It's ironic, like high stress environments. Even though I'm such a stressed out person, but I just think that's so rewarding. Like at the end of the day, you know, when you go to bed, you're like, wow, I really did so much today.
I feel like the trends are in your favor for like being able to help people, because isn't it like massively in need? I think, of course, across the world, there's lots of things that it's on the rise, and people, mental health is
mental
a big
illness,
thing.
yeah.
So like, are the things you need to do in your personal life to kind of go along with the studies? Like, is it the type of thing you need to volunteer? Not you need to, but are people getting some experience along the way, or is it all theoretical?
It's definitely good too. Especially when you go. So when you sit GAMSA, if you get a good competitive mark, you can get an interview for a medical school all around Australia, wherever they send you. And in the interview, I feel like it would be really, really good to have, you know, lots of experience and have, you know, done volunteer work or worked in medical sort of institutions and stuff like that. I don't know, because I feel like a lot of people that I've heard have been rejected from interviews just because the medical school is like, oh, you're not what we're looking for. So I'm always just thinking, what are they looking for? Maybe it is volunteer work, maybe it is experience. So that's
my memory of that whole process, is that, you know, like on paper you can have perfect grades, but of course they're going to consider how suited are you for this profession, right?
Exactly.
I mean, who else is going to filter you out? They have that control.
Yeah, and you need people skills, you need all that kind of stuff.
Look, it's interesting. And then do you look, I guess, beyond sort of Australia for, I guess, this profession? Like, is there sort of enough here for you, or do you look at all sorts of stuff, you know, watch YouTube videos around the world?
I wanted to work in Canada. I love Canada. I've never been there, but my friend is from there, and she would just tell me the most amazing stories and show me the most amazing photos. I was just like, is this place real? Like,
wow,
it looks so nice over there. And I just feel like, I mean, there's like common myth. I don't know if it's a myth, but everyone's really, really nice.
Wow, you're like giving a huge plug for Canada. Wait, I shouldn't get a flag in here.
Yeah.
But were they winter photos or summer photos? I'm just curious.
Winter photos.
Oh, okay.
But I love the summer. I've seen summer photos as well. Just like, I don't know if it's her or if it's the experiences, but she'll tell me amazing stories. And I'm just like, oh, I'd love to go there.
Yeah. Oh, look, for sure. I mean, it's people live their lives there. I mean, there's like, it's just a mix of society, just like everything else, very multicultural. But the nature part of it, yeah, that's not going anywhere. That's like, So I grew up in a small town too.
Really?
Yeah, near, like, basically it would be like 15 minutes to go to the ski hill. There'd be like no one there, you know, or minimal. And so it's those kind of like, I don't know, it's just a different feel. So, but then now city life, and now that you've done a bit of both, you can probably do anything you want, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure those kind of things will transfer. Like once you have skills at that level, I think doctor level skill, you could pretty much work anywhere.
Yeah.
But how about travel? So have you traveled outside of Australia?
So I've been to China. I went there when I was 15 for like a Young Leaders to China program. So we went there to just like help communities. We built roads. We taught children in small towns and communities English. And we just played with them, and we learned all about the culture in little tiny villages of China. We didn't go to like the wall, or we didn't go to Beijing or anything. It was really, really authentic China. And it's something that I loved so much. I'll never forget that experience. It was amazing.
For sure. What age roughly was that?
15.
15.
Yeah. So I was young.
Yeah, but like there are these kind of programs where it's like young leaders or it's meant to. How did you get that? I mean, was it?
In my high school offered it, but you needed to have an interview with the principal and someone. I think it was someone from the actual school student leadership. And yeah, you had to have good grades. You had to be physically fit enough. And then they chose 8 kids from my school, and I was one of them.
Yeah.
And so you meet with, I think it was 32 other kids. So there was 8 of us. So it was 40 in total. And then they prepare you in Australia. And we were actually in like a really cold part of Australia. And for 3 weeks, you just kind of learn about the culture, learn how to, be. And then we just off to China for 6 weeks after that, where it was hot. So it was a really different environment to what we used to.
I'm interested that they screened you for physical fitness. That's quite interesting. I can understand okay, they can't take everyone, so there needs to be some criteria. I can imagine it being perhaps academic or showing some leadership potential, so that and you were one of the 8, right? Mm-hmm. What was the physical fitness part? Did you have to sprint or?
Oh, we had to do a lot. So it was hiking, it was cycling, it was swimming, it was we had to do a lot of physical activity, which was, it was interesting. Lots of hiking in China, especially because we had to go see a lot of the just like statues and whatever else. Yeah.
Do you remember the area? Like I know China.
Yeah, we went to Guangzhou.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope that's
Guangzhou, yeah.
And it was Shenzhou. I think it was in Guangzhou. And then it was this tiny little village called Heishan.
Right. Okay, so you've seen small village.
Yes.
China. Well, look, this is like type of stuff that, I mean, you take it in while you're there, right?
Mm-hmm,
and you learn from it. And
it was insane. I went without my family for the first time ever. Yeah,
no kidding. And
9 weeks.
And they let you go.
My mom, it was so strange. She's such a protective person, and she was just, she was like, go do it. It's a really good learning experience. So
it's funny. Parents are funny. Like what you have to like learn how the mind works.
I know. Yeah, she was just like, I think you'll learn so much from it, and I definitely did.
That's neat.
She was right.
So just on the fun side of things, do you find yourself like with the psychology and the psychiatry, like looking at people being like, I wonder, and like, the inner workings of people's minds, like different scenarios?
Every single day, yeah, because I work in customer service at Kmart. So I talk to so many people every single day.
That's great.
And you'll meet some really odd ones. And always I'm just like, what's going on inside your head? I wonder what you're thinking right now.
Wow. Okay. So you basically have a part-time job in addition to all this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Like how many hours? Like 8 hours a week max?
Like 20 at the moment.
That's a lot.
But it's good. I like what I do, so it's good. It's not like I hate going there. Some days I do, but mostly I really like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
At some point, would you have to wrap that up so that you can focus on maybe other things like career-wise, or like I'm always curious how people do. I mean, obviously it's just it's good, like you said, for a little bit of paycheck, and then social, like you said, it's just you're out there and seeing people.
Mm-hmm.
Would you wrap that up at around the time when you need to do the exam, or?
So basically you need to finish your degree. Oh, actually you don't need to finish it to do the exam, but that's what I'm going to do. I feel like when I finish my degree, I'll have plenty of time to just sit down and study for the GAMSA, because I'll just have to be working or whatever. But it's intensive study as well. So I've heard from people like 5 hours every day for about 6 weeks before the exam.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and that's them, just passing it as well, not getting a competitive mark, having to sit it again. So I don't know how it's going to go, but for now I'm just like.
So I guess for people listening in, just to get a feel for your path in Australia, and I know like medical schools, let's just say it's probably one of the most difficult, along with other professions like I think architecture, and there's some that are pretty full on to do that path. But is it did anything come easy to you, or was it actually like full on effort at every stage? Like you just had to actually pretty full on throttle to get where you are?
No, I'm going to be honest, it came pretty easily. Like I really like studying. A lot of people don't, and that's sort of their downfall because they don't want to do it. I loved what I was learning from get-go. Like as soon as I sat in the first lecture, I was like, oh yeah, this is really cool. It was full on. It was a lot of work, but I don't know. For some reason, I was just like, I really, really like it. And I wanted to go look at it and I wanted to go review it. And obviously, you know, it did die off a little bit just because of the workload, but still, I definitely think that my biggest sort of hurdle is going to be getting into med school. It's one of the most challenging things that people do. So it's so competitive.
And so that's ahead of you. And so that's not far off though. That's like a year or two at the most, right?
I know, it's scary.
Well, you know, I think it'll be cool to see, and everyone's going to be cheering you on, right? Family, friends, community, and then we'll be calling you doctor.
Oh wow! Yep.
You know, some of the things like, do you feel like there's any controversial topics in the field that you're looking to get into? Like, I'm just thinking psychiatry.
At the moment, psychiatry. Yeah. Especially because psychiatrists, the whole point of them is sort of they prescribe medications. And yeah, there's obviously the whole kind of controversy just with the addiction as well to stuff like opioids and whatever, you got painkillers. I think it's a really detrimental sort of profession, and I think it's so important, but even I have been kind of really looking into it and being like, is it what I want to do? Is this what I want to do? Do I believe in this? Is it, you know, ethically, you know, correct and everything like that? Because a lot of people, they want to be quick to sort of judge, and they're kind of like, oh, psychiatrists, you know, like they kind of just prescribe medications nowadays. They don't really even try to help. They just want to prescribe medications and, you know, they don't really care about the patient. So I don't know, I kind of want to change that. And I kind of want to be the change and really focus on helping in all aspects, not just prescribing medications.
For sure. Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot with people have a really good sense of, maybe it's just in Australia, I haven't been outside for a while, but the idea of wellness, right? Like overall, you know, whether it's someone training a high-performance athlete, we're going to train you for a high-performance athlete, but by the way, we're going to work on your mind.
Exactly, yeah. it's like, about
right?
Overall health. That's what I believe in. I don't believe in just the absence of disease, getting rid of the illness. That's it. Like, you're treated, you're done. I think you need to look at every single aspect of that person's health. And I learned about that, like spiritually and physically, mentally, everything, environmentally.
Do you mean like when you learned about it, is that like just a first-hand experience, or you've had somebody introduce you to that, some of the effects of everything?
Yeah, one of my courses was Health Challenges of the 21st Century. It was one of my favorites. It just introduced us to sort of the World Health Organization's perspective on health versus the medical perspective and how doctors are looking at it nowadays. So
interesting. I took a lot of interest in like pharmacology. So
I have to do that course.
Yeah, it's pretty full on. Like when you think about, I don't know, I kind of would come just to paint the picture of people that don't want to get too technical, but it's kind of like lock and key type stuff where it's like, you know, there's a certain effect in your body, and if you have the right molecule and the right drug, basically, you can kind of counter that effect and you kind of get through that. But then there's probably something else. So it's sort of like a chain reaction.
Yeah, and it comes with its
side effects.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Which is addiction, just commonly nowadays. And it's so, again, it's really, really detrimental. It's having such an effect on young people, old people, people of all ages. And it's really scary, honestly, because it's like our doctors are sort of the ones enforcing that.
I'm just got this piece of paper in front of me. I'm just kind of drawing a line. I'm thinking of like the psychiatry world of things that are fixing things that have, I don't know, whatever it is. It's people have been addicted to drugs, and you need to intervene, and you need to like, you know, reverse that path. And then there's maybe the more stuff that may be more biological, like people have just struggled their whole life with, I don't know, depression, or like, you know, it's not something they've done or through external factors. It's just sort of a biological thing. Like they might have highs and lows and lots of things. Do you feel like, maybe we might have covered it already, but do you see yourself on one side or the other around?
Yeah, mine's more the biological side, just because personally that's where my anxiety came from. My mom and dad have it, and they kind of came together and made me. So to have that really severe kind of chronic cases of anxiety. And yeah, I went to a lot of different professionals, and I was never ever prescribed medication, and I overcame it. So I was kind of like, yeah, I feel like they're important. The drugs are really important, and they're made for a reason, obviously. But I think that my whole like outlook on it is just like we can help people in a different way, and yeah, obviously some people really they need. That's why I wanted to do psychiatry, because there's cases where it's not avoidable. Like you need to prescribe, but yeah, I
think it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, especially things where people don't have the luxury of knowing how the body works. It always makes me smile a little bit, in the sense that imagine people going through their whole lives and not really knowing how their body works.
I know.
Things like nutrition, or like, I mean, yeah, there's temptation that gets in the way, and I get it, but lifestyles and whatever. But for people not to know like the effects of how diet can affect your mood, or or anxiety, like this whole idea, if you went for a run and got a bit of exercise, like, hello, there's like circulation happening, and these natural.
I find it insane the amount of people I've met and they just have no idea. I'm like, how do you have no idea?
It should be, I mean, let's just, we don't tell people what to do, but like, wouldn't it be better if everyone knew that kind of stuff early on in life?
Exactly.
Like school age kids, maybe?
I feel like we'd just be healthier as a world, definitely.
So, yeah, the brain is it all in the brain? Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah.
It is, right?
It is all in the brain. That's my belief. 100%.
All right. So what happens if we get this Elon Musk Neuralink implant? It controls it all externally. Does that make your job obsolete? Do you know much? Have you heard much about that?
I've heard not a lot, but it's something that I hear, and I'm just kind of like, okay,
Well, no, we don't want to put it on you too much, but essentially, like, there's technology, right? And so there's things that will come in, and let's just say that it's all meant to be helpful. So I guess that we'll just see how it goes. There's ethical stuff, I'm sure, many waivers.
Yes.
But there's a lot of external factors around, let's just say devices, right? So people are spending a lot of time on phones, and I can see a link between phones and social media and anxiety. So maybe back to you with that one.
100%.
How do you push those things to one side? Like, do you think, actually, just to clarify, do you see any negative effects with, like, in your own personal experience about devices and
100%.
Screen time?
They're such an important device, I think, to have, obviously, and technological advancements. It was going to happen. It was inevitable, but it's so detrimental to your health. 100%. I've had to delete Snapchat and Instagram while I'm studying, even when I'm not studying, just because. Yeah, it's so insane how the number of likes or what someone posts can affect someone else. Just, celebrities nowadays, and they can Photoshop anything they want to look however they want. It's having such a big impact on our young kids. And you see it, they're so influenced. They really are influencers online. They influence so many people, and some don't really understand how it affects the people that are viewing it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's not, I mean, you can see things changing. Like, obviously, the Instagram used to have the like counter, right? You could see how many people, and
I think that was a great change. Yeah.
But it's obviously like an admission of like, okay, we know this is probably not good.
Exactly, which is good.
But it hasn't really changed too much, I don't think.
No, not a lot.
The mechanism's still there to put your filter on, and like.
Yeah, even when you were asking me if I do a lot of social media, I have so much anxiety about even posting one photo. I'm just thinking, who's going to see it? What are they going to say? And then I look at it for too long, and I'm like, oh, it's it's ugly. I don't like it anymore. I want to delete it. Does it fit with the theme? And it's just I feel really, really judged. I feel like we all do with every single thing that we post. It's hard not to feel judged.
Yeah. That's, again, this will be hopefully relatable for people to just think about, their overall being and like happiness, back to what you mentioned earlier and all that. But just be in control. Hopefully people are taking that message.
I think that's the biggest thing is to be in control of it. As soon as you start losing that control is when stuff gets rocky. And yeah, I have to limit myself to my phone. I'm not allowed to go on it all the time. I don't go on social media a lot. I've stopped going on Instagram a lot just because that was like the worst one for me, honestly. Even Snapchat, like I see a lot of messages from people and I'm just like, I don't feel like answering those messages. I just have anxiety about talking.
One thing that makes me laugh is if you look in the apps, once in a while I'll go through all the settings and figure out like, okay, what's going on with these apps. Recently we just looked at TikTok because TikTok's crazy addictive.
I love TikTok. Yeah, it is. Yes, it is.
And like, yeah, exactly. I mean, you can easily dismiss it. Older people can dismiss it and say, oh, it's just like the next thing and whatever, let them have fun with it. But if you really look at it from a marketing point of view, holy, it's like crazy stuff going on
100%.
with the programming. It's sort of like this interface of technology and social, social wiring, basically. So anyway, but in the apps, there's sort of like this digital wellness option. I don't know what you call it, but it sort of warns you if you've been on the app too long, I think.
Oh, really?
Have you seen that or not?
Oh, not yet.
So again, it just makes me laugh because I think that they're trying to just get away with it for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I see
saying,
that.
well, the apps are like, they need to keep people on that thing and they're going to get as much ad revenue as they can. So in the meantime, they're like, well, we've got that option where you can switch it on.
And I think that has its expiry date as well. Like, people will get used to that, but they'll still become addicted to it. They'll still find a way around it to be like, yep, there's always a way around it with addiction.
So you mentioned, so we covered off on the natural side, and I think that's a cool and lots of help needed for sure, like just biological or maybe, situations that arise, but not like a chemical dependence that's been introduced, right? But on the somewhere in the world of psychiatry, there is still a place for drugs, let's just say, like not the stimulating drugs that are causing problems, but like treatments. Like, is there still a place for it? Or
100%.
Yeah.
There's definitely cases, like I was saying, where you need it. There's a lot of doctors that don't believe in that. They're like, nope, you never need it. You can kind of just. But I feel like there's a reason that there's like conspiracies around that as well. People are like, it was made by the scientists to make more money, to make you sick. Yeah, but I feel like smart people made them for a reason, for good reason. I just think that the way that people use them, or more so like abuse them these days, is why we're in an epidemic.
You just mentioned sort of a bit of that conspiracy. It makes me laugh a little bit in the sense that, do you feel like maybe yourself or your generation, are you sort of raised with a bit of skepticism? Like, are you coming into this being like, okay,
this is the story. My mom is, she's anti-vax, anti everything. She like believes that Bill Gates is going to microchip all of us and whatever. Like, she's one of those people, which is so, it's interesting because, I'm learning the opposite. Like, everything I'm learning, it's like, no, full trust. Vaccinations, 100%. Like, all of this stuff is 100%. Believe in it. Science. Like, yeah, I was raised in a very religious household as well, which contradicts everything that I'm learning, because it's like, I'm learning about the Big Bang Theory and evolution and all that kind of stuff.
Sure, science,
exactly. But yeah, my mom is, she's one of the conspiracy theorists.
That's a fun little
especially in terms of COVID. Oh my god, yes. COVID was a very interesting time because it was just like, oh, it's fake. It was made by the government. It was made by this. It was designed in a lab. And I was just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I like it when the world gets along, and I think it's unfortunate when people just lean on something so harsh. It's like, you know what? If you want to believe something, just let it be. It's
just like, why? I would
or do you find yourself like it rubs you the wrong way, and you're like, no, like
it did, and then I kind of had to pull back and be like, okay, but you have to understand that. Whatever. She's just, I guess, wants to believe what she wants to believe. Yeah. And
I mean, but it's the interesting. It's not just one person, right? Like there's
so
absolute camps of people that are like on this side and that side.
It's rude. I thought it was just her, and then I was actually like watching what she was watching, and I was like, oh my god, there's people that believe this.
Yeah, I mean, again, even just having some kind of media format like what we've got here. People are going to be like pulled in one direction or the other, and it's sort of like it's as long as people are coming together to like be civil and move things in the right direction. Like, if people can be helping, so you're on the science path helping, on the other path, there's spirituality. There's lots of stuff that almost have like a little bit of overlap. But yeah, when you try to force like your opinion or your beliefs on others, that's never going to end well.
No.
Either way.
It never ends. Yeah, exactly. And especially that's like a psychological thing as well. I definitely think it's like, no matter how hard you sort of try to enforce something, especially when a person's older, like, it's not going to work.
Yeah. That's the older thing. But look, I mean, covered a lot of really cool stuff. I mean, anything else like in the realm of balance? Like, obviously, I give you full credit for the achievements to date. You've traveled, on the leadership program. You've done the academic thing. in just for the people listening in from overseas, does Australia have grades? Like, is it A, B, C?
Mm-hmm.
And so you can be a straight A student? Is that how it works here?
It's weird here. So in high school, it was all A, B, C kind of stuff. It was just like that. And you either got an A, you either got or it's like A plus, A minus, obviously. But then when I go to uni, it's like percentage based. So it's like you either got, 86%, 90%, whatever. But then they convert that into a different score, which is your GPA. So right. GPA...
Is it out of 4 still?
Out of 7 here.
Okay.
So yeah, in America, it's like out of 4. Here, it starts at 4. So passing is 4. And then it starts at 1, our GPA. But that's like fail. I don't know. There's different levels to failing,
okay.
I guess.
So 7 is the top.
7 is the top. And yeah, for med school, you need a pretty high GPA. I think it's 6.5. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in uni, you get your percentages, you do an exam, you can get like 80%, 90%. And 90% is like an A. And it's like a 7 GPA. So that's like a 7 grade.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, well,
it's so confusing.
It's a different system, but it sort of shows that if you're from another country and you wanted to come study here as an international student, you might have to get your head around, how that all translates.
I think it's, as long as you just kind of, because I didn't get it at all. I didn't understand how it worked. I was just like, just study hard, do the exams, whatever. And then I kind of picked it apart and I was like, oh, so this is how I'm going to get this grade. This is how I'm going to, okay, that makes sense. But like on an exam, you would still get like a percentage, right? Like, oh, I got 90% on that exam. Yeah. That kind of thing. And then the uni takes that as anything above 85% is a 7. Below 85 is, I think 75 to 85 is like a 6. And then 65 to 75 is a 5. Yeah, it goes like down like that. But yeah, and then the uni will take that 90%, convert it to like a 7. And then overall for your course, if you get like a 7 for that course, and you have to do 4 courses, if you get 7s across all of them, then you get a GPA 7. If you get like 1.6, then it'll be like a 6.75 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a numbers game, right? Like you need the average, you need that. So you do call it a GPA?
GPA. Yeah, we call it GPA.
And so you need that plus the good exam score?
Exam score.
For the med path.
Yep. They look more at your GPA, but you need to get a competitive GAMSAT score, and it's a hard exam. So I can imagine getting that competitive score would be really, really challenging.
Wow. So again, just on the international side of things, is the type of thing I've heard about a lot of people internationally come here to study for just lots of things, exposure to the culture, but do you feel like your class mix is partially international?
Yeah, it's amazing. It was so fun, like meeting people from different places. We have so many international students. A lot of them live on the campus, obviously. They have their own area.
Okay.
And yeah.
Obviously living away from home by themselves, like no family or whatever. So they're here and it's part of like a dorm, like they can just sleep there.
Yeah. And yeah, some of them, so I've met one, she's from, I don't want to get this wrong, I think it's Dubai.
Sure.
But yeah, she's doing the same degree as me and she's living with one of our friends, which is how we met her. But yeah, it was so interesting. Like she moved here to do that degree and loves it here. Just came here for the degree. That's it. So I was like, okay.
Well, I think there's a lot to be said. I mean, we do try to highlight a lot of the positives about being in Australia and some of the cool things, and especially on the innovation side. So, and so Griffith is the university, but they've got this medical environment, right? It's Gold Coast University Hospital, I think.
That's our medical school.
Yeah. And so it's all kind of here. You can study and stay here and...
Exactly. Yep. It's really, really good. I really like Griffith. Yeah, it's amazing.
And do you think, or do you know that once you get through and you get your credentials, could you return back to your small town and work and roll this out there? Or could you work in any state you want?
I've definitely thought about that. Yeah. So when you obviously achieve your doctorate, and they kind of just send you anywhere. Especially for medical school. I knew a doctor and she started at Griffith and went to Deakin University in Melbourne for medical school and then came back here. And yeah, she's here now practicing. But yeah, I've always thought of the possibility of maybe being sent back down there. And I would do anything for the job. That's the thing. That's kind of what motivates me, is I don't really mind where I am as long as I'm doing what makes me happy.
Mm. Look, that's a really helpful attitude, I think, because you're focused on the helping bit and then it's everything else just adapting and maybe time and place. You want to live your life as well. Yeah. Obviously over the duration. But I think that does speak true to the doctor's profession, medical doctors, in that there's not everyone wants to go to the country to work, I think. Mm-hmm. And so they have to have placements.
I think it's tough when you're picky like that with stuff like med, which is like, you can be obviously, but just like it would be more challenging because, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's just like I think that's an interesting one because you have your central mission, but then you really have to be okay with living away from, maybe it's the place, maybe you grew up in the city, like you're from Sydney and all your family and relatives, but your placement is in like a remote, somewhere in the outback or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess there's probably a conversation about how to make it all work. So it's just an interesting one.
I feel like it would be hard to get used to if you weren't ready for that. Yeah.
The balance of it.
Just kind of, I'm lucky because I've like lived in very different sort of environments. So I'm just like, I'm ready for anything. Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, we covered a lot of the topics just on the personal side. So we've got this really clear path actually. So is there anything else? Is there sort of like I'll see if I can fit this in over here. Is it maybe a bit more travel or, I don't know, or like a little hobby? I don't know.
So yeah, that was like the main thing as well for me last year is I felt like I had no life. The only kind of life that I felt like I had was on the weekends when I would go out with my friends. And my hobbies are so important to me because I'm so interested in like 100 different things, especially art. So I did want to make time for it. I definitely am going to make time for it. I was going to take a little bit of time off and just really focus on myself. I might still, I don't know, but yeah, I think that having hobbies is so, so, so important, especially when you're working so hard, especially when you're studying so hard, because it helps you disassociate from that really hard, just intense studying environment to something that you really enjoy and really like doing.
That's neat.
So yeah.
And perhaps it's a different part of your brain, fair to say? Yeah,
definitely.
I'm trying to think, painting, art. So I'm more of like music. For me, playing piano or something is just like, even though I haven't practiced heaps and heaps, but it's like a total disconnect from anything.
Exactly.
Calculated or business-like. So
yeah.
Very, very cool. And then with the time off, so you potentially could actually step away from the path, even if once you get the green light to go ahead, could you potentially buy yourself a bit of time before starting into medical school, do you think? Yeah.
That's like, that's why I wanted to sort of sit GAMSAT after I'd finished my degree, because there I have time. I've got a degree under my belt. I can go work in that field if I want, which is why I did a major as well, because that's something that I'm interested in. I could do that. I know a lot of people that go, like, finish their degree, work full time for like 10 years, and then will sit the GAMSAT and go to med school when they're like 40 years old or whatever. So yeah, that's always a possibility.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Lots of options to consider. And it sounds like Canada might be on your roadmap.
Yeah, I'd love to go there.
Have you ever skied or anything with the snow? Or
yeah, in Victoria, we have snow. Yeah. So yeah, we used to go every single winter. And yeah, have you ever heard of like Mount Hotham?
I haven't. There's a couple, like the Olympics shone a lot of light on the people that were really good at the snow sports. Yeah, is that a big mountain?
Yeah, there's all the mountains down to Victoria. There's a few. I think there's about.
I hope I get this right. Is it Tora Bright? She was a snowboarder, I think. And there's a lot of really great hills.
Yeah, here.
But there's some local ones it's really like the athletes are at.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, even here, I think we have one. I think it's Perisher or something. I don't know.
Oh, no, Perisher, that's the one. Yeah, no, that's I think that's New South Wales-ish.
Yeah, it's down there.
We'll fact check on that one, but yeah, amazing, guys. There's snow in Australia, just in case you didn't know. When I moved to here, I sold all my stuff, and I really tried to be aware of, like, I was like, oh, there's not going to be enough snow.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised that there was. And there's so many people that have never seen snow, especially ones that are born and raised here.
Yeah. If you move here, don't sell your winter jacket and keep your snow gear. Pack your
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Look, Silvia, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
And my pleasure.
Wish you best of luck in your journey, and yeah, happy to keep you updated as we go. So
thank you so much for having me.
All right, wonderful, guys. Just in the comments field, if you want to share some of your personal experiences, I think it's just an interesting mix of student life and just all the fun things that comes along with that, and the challenges and the opportunities. So thanks again, guys. Take care.